171 of Breaking Kayfabe with Bowdren and Barry. I'm host Jeff Bowdren. With me is my good friend from Ambler, PA, the women's pet, the men's regret. It's Barry Rose. Barry, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Jeff. I'm doing. I had some sort of allergy attack yesterday, and you and I were communicating this morning. And I got to tell you, about 4 o'clock yesterday, I'm going to myself, I don't know how I can fucking record tomorrow, because my first thought was I had COVID, right? Which is, I guess at this stage, if you've got the sniffles,
if you sneeze, you're like, I've got COVID. Yeah. So
40 people turn around and look at you. If you're in public, they all run. And this came out of nowhere, but I literally, yesterday was one of the most miserable days of my life. And I popped a Zyrtec about 11 o'clock last night. I fell asleep. I was up all night, but still able to sleep through some induced fog. And I got to tell you, I feel about 80% better today. So
did you take anything else to maybe help you relax?
I did not, actually. Okay. Other than Advil and Zyrtec, that was about it. I didn't even eat dinner last night. I just had breakfast and almost not even really lunch. I didn't eat for almost 24 hours. It was weird.
I can break kayfabe on something to you that I've not revealed to you yet.
What?
Mrs. Bowdren, the other day, as part of her job, received a COVID shot. Boom!
Wow.
Yes. So she was, you read all these stories out there about people that get the shot and drop dead 10 minutes later, or they get some sort of reaction to it. So she was kind of sweating the ride home, but she is taking step one. It was required by her job. She was, like one of these people, because you do hear so many people, you have people that there's no issue whatsoever when they get the shot. And then you get other people that, there's some kind of issue that crops up after they have the shot. And so she was a little bit nervous about getting the shot, but she's gotten it out of the way. So that being said.
But to that end as well, with a lot of the different shots and medicines and vaccines and things, there are X amount of people that are going to have some sort of reaction to it. Yeah. Now, this was the first of the two, because what is the second one 28 days later or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. But are you going to get a shot? Are you going to do it?
Well, let's just say that I'm not up on deck, if you will. Apparently, yes. I don't fit the criteria right now, so it'll probably be some time before I get around to being in that line. So here on episode 171, going to take a little different approach this week, folks. Oh, it's a non-wrestling themed week. So those of you that are only here for the wrestling content, I'm going to let you know that we're not going to stick to wrestling this week. I use that phrase on more than one occasion, Barry. I don't know if you've noticed that. Today, we are going to be looking at the best villains in movie history. Now, I would say the top 50 villains in movie history, because that's the way the article that I initially read that gave me the germ of an idea for this podcast. However, as I started going through it, they got like 57 people that they mentioned, or 57 movie characters. So I won't say the top 50. So that is going to be one of the main points of the show. We are also going to be taking a look. Barry, I have to ask, have you finished the show?
Jeff, I finished the show, and I live and breathe this show currently, even though I'm not even currently watching it. So, yes, I have finished it.
We are going to be talking about Cobra Kai Season 3 as Daniel LaRussa, goes back to Okinawa, and Johnny deals with all his, hey, guy's got he needs a lot of work on his face because he gets beat up a lot. We're going to be talking Cobra Kai very briefly. Let's see what else we're going to do before we get to that. Got a couple of personal items we want to send shout outs to some members of our group. Number one, Brett Julian.
Yay.
Wife had a baby. Round of applause from the good folks here at Breaking Kayfabe.
Absolutely.
You're not applauding. You're not applauding.
I am applauding. You just don't hear it. I love Brett. He's got a great family. He's a beautiful wife, couple of kids, and just an all around great guy. So they kept it a secret, and they announced it just a few weeks ago. And she gave birth today. Beautiful baby. Family just looks great.
Let's be honest. Brett had something to do with the birth of the child, but Mrs. Julian did the majority of the work. And so we want to give her credit, not so much to Brett. We don't want him to get all full of himself. So also want to mention on the other side of the equation, our friend Drew Samuels posted that he has moved into his own apartment after, I believe he said 33 years in a relationship. And he was kind of going through some pain, a little bit of anguish. We all reached out to him and let him know that the brothership has your back, my man. And I sent Drew a little message. I think, Barry, you did also. And I saw a number of people said, if you ever need to just talk. And, unfortunately, Drew, Mr. Bowdren has been down that road that you're currently on before. So I hope you get past it and everything works out. And, Barry, I know you agree with me on that.
Yeah, he's just another great guy, and we've been in touch over the last couple of months about what he's going through. And you look at a photo of Drew and you say, how could he have been with a woman for 33 years? He looks to be about 40 years old, somewhere out there. Yeah,
he met her when he was like 7,
but he did. I think this was like either a junior high or a high school sweetheart. They've been together. They do have a couple of small kids. And he's been, Drew has been very open and honest about this and sharing his experience. And, he posted something a couple of weeks ago. And I got to tell you, as I was reading it, there were tears welling up in my eyes. And it was basically Drew discussing how he broke the news to his 2 young daughters or 3 young daughters. I forget exactly how many kids he's got, but this is obviously a tough time for him, and he does have, that is the beauty, Jeff. And we've discussed this before. We've mentioned this before. When we started the Facebook group as an addition to the podcast, could you ever have predicted that we would have become a support system for other human beings in any form, the way that we have?
No, not at all. And it really, one of the things I see people that, maybe aren't regulars on the board, but just pop in now and again, and they'll sit there and they'll comment and say, wow, this is a really nice thing that you guys do. And we try to keep the a-hole quota to an extreme minimum. We unfortunately probably do have a few, but we try to keep them down. And if they get to be too much of an a-hole, we give them the big bootski. And but we are here to support. And so, Drew, we want you to know that we got your back, my man. Hope things start working out for you, because I know, as I said, I've been through it twice before, and it's a tough road when it first happens. And you move past it, and hopefully your life gets better. So we will wish that upon you, my friend. Yep. So before we get to our main topic, Barry, let's talk a little Cobra Kai. I know that you are, dare I say, a mark for this show.
Oh,
you are a Miyazark for this show, my man.
I am the biggest Miyazark in the history of marks for this show, and I got to tell you, this may be my favorite show of all time. It's certainly right up there right now with Twilight Zone. And
what about Stranger Things? Has it?
I think it has. I'll tell you why. I mean, this is what the common denominator of what I like about both shows is there is an 80s theme to it. And with Stranger Things, obviously, a lot of it is centered around the 80s. I love the soundtrack, but this movie, even though it's currently taking place in our time now, its roots go back to the 80s. And there were so many 80s references in every episode. And I love that. But what I really like about this show, first off, is, think about how many times have you seen a character in, the first movie coming out in 1984. Here we are almost 37 years later, still in a sense relating to these characters. I don't think that's ever occurred before in medium like this, in either television or film. I could be wrong, but I don't recall that ever happening. And the way that these characters have developed, especially Johnny, let's be honest too, this is the Johnny Lawrence show, where Karate Kid was Daniel LaRusso. This is Johnny Lawrence's medium right here. This is his vehicle. And he is, William Zabka has just done an incredible job. We were just talking off air and you mentioned about him getting beaten up every week and his face just getting destroyed. But he's a guy that has so many flaws, but yet you still love him. And that, to me, that's the definition of either good writing, good acting, good directing. When you've got somebody that is a really flawed human being that has good and bad qualities, and Johnny certainly does have bad qualities, yet you still kind of love him. He's like that family member that might drive you crazy, but at the end of the day, you're glad that they're your family member. And that's how I feel about Johnny Lawrence. But
let me just interrupt you right there. One of the things I'm not going to say, I'm going to talk specific to this country. One of the things that the U.S. loves, and I say that because I know we have listeners that are outside, in the Pacific and across in England and Ireland, stuff like that. The U.S. loves someone who has fallen and then been redeemed. And I'll give you a perfect example. Tiger Woods could not have been a bigger deal like 7, 8 years ago. And then they had the incident where his wife supposedly caught him cheating, chased him down the driveway.
Supposedly, Jeff.
Allegedly,
yeah,
yes.
Allegedly, yeah, sure.
He may have gotten his ass kicked, it looks like.
Right.
And then he had back problems. And, he just had a good 5-year run where he was just in the shitter. Okay. And that was for Joe Christie, by the way. And so then Tiger comes back, and now he's doing the tournaments with his young son, and he has redeemed himself in the eyes of the golfing world and has regained that lofty status. So, and I use that as an example because here Johnny Lawrence in the show is this lead heel, and the character arc that this show has shown us is that he basically hit the shitter, and now it's all about the redemption of Johnny Lawrence, and that's what America loves, is seeing whether it's a real life person or a character on a show or in a movie get redeemed. And I think that's one of the reasons why people love this show so much.
I think so too. Let me also say I'm not a Tiger Woods fan. I don't like the guy. We don't want to get into that'll be an hour-long discussion. But
I talked to Tiger. He didn't have much nice to say about you.
He hates me. He hates me. Yeah, it's but you are right. America does love, and I think the world. I mean, I think we can take the world loves a redemption story. There are the original director of the Karate Kid was the guy who directed Rocky. And there's so many similarities between the two. And I think this show, and I think that's the crux of what makes this all so great, is that the show in a lot of ways is so true to the original vibe of the original Karate Kid, And, you look at the films, and I don't count the fourth film with Hilary Swank. I think it was called The New Karate Kid. And I don't count the remake that occurred 10 years ago with Will Smith's son. But you look at the first three films, and I do think the progression of the first three films, they got worse every time out. The first one to me is a classic. The other two I didn't really like when they were released, but in hindsight, I like both. I especially like 2 a lot more than 3. And 2, I will say, Yumiko is to me the perfect girl for Daniel LaRusso. Like that, there's something about her that just works. Their temperament, and there are a lot of spoilers, as Jeff said, so you may want to lower your volume. But when they reconnected in this past season, when Daniel went to Okinawa, I was fucking mesmerized. Like, I don't think I even blinked when that was up on screen. It was just such a real touching moment to me. And that's what I like. They've been able to bring back these characters, but even when they brought back Chosen, right? He's changed. Like, they don't bring back a character and they're exactly the same. Johnny Lawrence has changed dramatically. I mean, what an arc on him. Daniel LaRusso has changed. They've grown, they've become, and Chosen has changed. The only one who hasn't really changed is Kreese. And there's a reason I think that Kreese hasn't changed. But
and one of the thing about Chosen is he directly says that what happened in Karate Kid 2, the fight between he and Daniel LaRusso changed him. And that's why part of what led to him evolving.
Yeah, which absolutely it did. And you go back and this episode too that he was featured in, the first few minutes, you're unsure exactly what Chosen's game is here because he's not warm, he's not friendly. And then he and Daniel, they do wind up forming a bond and some sort of friendship. And it really, it's really amazing. It's amazing they got this actor back. The actor's name is Yuji Okumoto, and apparently had been out of acting for years, is a restaurateur in Seattle, and they were able to track him down. And do you remember him? He was in the movie Better Off Dead. Do you remember that movie Better Off Dead?
It's been so long since I've seen it. I got to be honest with you. I don't remember him in that.
Every time John Cusack was driving, a car would pull up next to him, and it was a Japanese guy, and he was on like a microphone, and he would do a Howard Cosell type of voice. And this was the same guy. He looks identical. I mean, there was no difference in appearance, but I really enjoyed Chosen. And when I was watching that scene when Chosen and Daniel were sparring, I guess, in the woods, I wondered where that was going to go. And of course, it did go somewhere. And I like that also. I like that you've got something that they don't just do a scene, but there's a legitimate end game to it. And, Daniel learns a new technique, which he winds up using, and exactly where he got it from. So that was great. But this was just so much fun, Jeff. I'm actually going to go back and rewatch it, season 3, so I can pick up the little nuances and things.
Okay, so tell me something about the season that you really liked, and something about the season that disappointed you, or that you weren't as big a fan of.
Yeah, absolutely too. So the one thing that one thing I really liked, in everything I liked for the most part, the date between Johnny and Allie. I got to tell you, Jeff, I was do you ever watch those Lifetime romance movies?
No, I don't. As a matter of
Neither
fact.
do I. And I'm thinking I should start, because as I was watching this date, this was the date. Johnny, look, we can go back to the first film. Johnny was a douche. He was a kid. I was a douche when I was a kid, maybe not to that level. I certainly didn't have the skills Johnny had, but we can all be douches when we're young. And I truly feel, in hindsight, he really cared about Allie. He really loved her. And to see them go on a date and have so much fun, and the way it all played out, I got to tell you, I was watching it, and I think I had my arms wrapped around myself. I think I was giving myself a hug, because it was really, really touching. It actually meant something to me. My least favorite scene, and you had texted me and you said, this was a great season, but there's one scene which I find completely unrealistic, but you didn't tell me what it was. And I'm going to take a guess, because this is the one that I found. I will say, going back to last year, I found the fight scene in the high school a little unrealistic, but I think at times that's what the show is supposed to be. However, the scene this year where Miguel and Sam got up in front of the commissioners and gave his speech and changed everybody's mind that they could now hold the tournament was just, as I watched it, I was like, this just comes off hokey and unrealistic. That was
not the scene.
Because what was the scene you were talking about?
So first of all, let me give. I thought there were a lot of positives to this season. Okay,
oh, yeah.
the arc. I got to tell you, I find that the scenes with Johnny Lawrence and William Zabka, to me, hold me and my interest much more than the scenes with Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso. I don't know why. It's just, I don't see that character has evolved as much. It's just like he's still the same, especially because I watched the other day, I watched The Karate Kid 3. Right. And as I was sitting there watching it, and I was doing a little bit of research on that particular movie. Now, in that movie, he has a girl that he meets. He and Mr. Miyagi open up a store to sell bonsai trees, which talk about a loser. That's just never going to make money. But anyway, so he meets, yeah, exactly. He meets this girl who makes a pottery dish to contain the bonsai tree. And so they kind of lead you to believe at the beginning that they're going to, have a little romance. And then it's like, well, we'll just be friends. And then I started doing some research. And part of the reason why they didn't take that in a romantic direction was, number one, at the time Karate Kid 3 was made, Ralph Macchio was 29, even though he looks like he's still 14. He was 29, and the girl playing his female interest was only 16 or 17. Oh. And so Ralph Macchio was worried that his wife was going to be a little upset. Gee, go figure. And so that's why they kind of just made it where she was just his friend. Now, getting back to this. So the scene that I thought was completely unrealistic was the fight at the LaRusso house, where the Cobra Kai people show up and they've got the Miyagi-Do people are there, and they just basically tear the entire house apart in this fight scene. Okay. And so after they've torn the entire house apart, gee, I'm sure the LaRussos wouldn't have called the police about this. And then you do this real late in the game turn by one of the characters. I'm not going to reveal who.
Well, we should we? I mean, we've been spoiling at this point.
We can discuss that. Yeah. So Hawk, he turns babyface. Literally 7/8 of the way through the fight, he suddenly realizes, wow, this is a really bad thing I'm doing here. I'm going to go help my old friends out. After basically shitting on him, after breaking one of the guy's arms.
Dimitri is his former best friend.
Now he decides he wants to be friends again, which that was completely unrealistic also. But the fact that they do this, this fight scene, and like there's literally no consequences for these kids, you know? Like the one kid, Robbie Keane, after the fight scene at school, he gets in trouble with the cops. But here they have this fight scene where they basically tear apart this fairly well-to-do guy's house. And you mean to tell me no one's getting in trouble? Because he's going to go, no, it's karate. We have to respect each other. So I'm not going to involve. Now, I mean, they didn't show that, but that just is kind of the way it played off. Like, oh, the LaRussos are just going to forget this because, Samantha was involved and it's just her and her friends getting in a bit of a spat. They basically probably caused tens of thousands of dollars of damage in the house. And the fact that it was just kind of forgotten about just seemed completely ridiculous to me.
Yeah, and I could see that too. And so discussing Hawk and his babyface turn, there's a couple of different theories out there with this. The first one was, if you watch, there were a couple of points where Hawk was watching, he was watching either Dimitri or somebody else get bullied, and Hawk was giving this look of like, I don't know if this is right. It did kind of come out of nowhere in the sense that all of a sudden he's watching it. And what happened was they were basically getting ready to break Dimitri's arm again. And he decided just to pick up and start to fight for Miyagi-Do. But there is a theory that he was sent to infiltrate and that he really will not be doing a babyface turn, that he's a mole. I'm not really buying into that, but certainly the writers.
And also, let me not forget the scene where the 5 kids go to the zoo and steal a cobra.
Yeah, that was
apparently there's no security at the zoo where these poisonous animals that can kill you.
That was a little ridiculous. Yeah,
just a tad. But let's talk about what I did like. Okay, sure. I liked, as I said, the Zabka stuff is gold. You're right. The scenes with he and Allie, and then when they kick in the Journey song, that's 80s gold. Right? Yeah.
What about Johnny and Daniel in the car singing REO Speedwagon?
Yes, that was that was good stuff. I was not a fan, not necessarily this character, but I thought they really sort of cut back on the Robbie Keane stuff. Like, he to me was not a
yes.
He's going to end up being, based on what happened at the end of the show or the end of the season, he's going to become a bigger part again. But they really kind of sliced this character down to where he really was not that big a deal this season. Let me point out the actress Courtney Hengler, who plays Daniel's wife. I really liked her this season.
I love her.
She was kind of annoying in season 1 and into season 2, but she definitely became a far more likable character this season. What do you think about that?
And she is, let's be honest, Jeff, she's fucking smoking.
Yeah, she's a very good looking woman.
She's beautiful. So let me ask you a question. This is something I've seen online. Miguel's mom or Daniel's wife? So I dig Miguel's mom too.
Yeah, that's well, and here's the thing. Before I answer that, I will say I was really worried that when Allie came back in the picture that Johnny was going to fuck it up with Miguel's mom. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, he's finally got this chance to have a normal relationship with this woman, and he's going to fuck it up by going back. And, the old Satchel Paige line, never look back, something might be gaining on you. And I thought that's what he was going to do, but he didn't. And I think I might have to go Miguel's mom. She's got a definite sexiness to her.
Oh, she is absolutely. And I probably would go. She's just fucking smoking hot. I'd go Miguel's mom too, but that's not to say that Daniel's wife in any form.
No, not at all.
There is something absolutely just super classy. And it was funny. You brought this up too, and I never really realized this. But I was thinking about something similar. I didn't realize that in Karate Kid 3 that they were just quote unquote friends. Now you've told me the backstory, so it makes sense. But all of Daniel's relationships in the first 3 movies were all kind of this G-rated chaste type of relationship. And even when he was dating Allie, nothing happened. They may have kissed, but nothing happened. With Yumiko,
Daniel was not fucking Allie. Let's be honest.
He was not. Yeah, Daniel wasn't raging hormones in any of the films. But what we saw in this season was Johnny and Miguel's mom having, getting it on. Like, that was passionate. And
in the parlance, I said to my wife, "Oh, look, Johnny's having Mexican food tonight for dinner." So.
The old Kevin Nash line. When somebody asked him if he was nailing any of the Nitro girls, Kevin Nash's response was, I think I'm having a little Korean tonight.
Well, it's funny you mention that because what I was thinking of, and the reason I use that joke is because there is somebody that we know, no names, of course, who I think I've told you likes to have Korean occasionally on the dinner menu. So that's what I was thinking of. And so let's talk about one other thing. Hot rumor for next season is that the Tori Nichols character is going to end up being Kreese's granddaughter. What do you think about that rumor?
Well, so let me tell you. So there are a lot of rumors, and they've been laying a lot of hints. So let's go. So who is Tori's dad? That is a big thing because there's a lot of rumors on this. Is Tori's dad Terry Silver? So we're going into Karate Kid 3 now. Was it Terry Silver? Is Tori's dad Mike Barnes, who was the student of Terry Silver? And then the big rumor, which apparently everyone believes is true, Amanda's brother is Terry Silver, the Terry Silver character. How fucking crazy is that? The next rumor, do you know who Miguel's dad is? It's Mike Barnes. Yeah.
It's this very incestuous 8-headed snake that's
awesome.
Awesome, it's some good dirt. There's no question about it. So
it is good.
Yeah, so Barry and I cannot recommend this show enough. If you're into anything 80s at all, it's
well, Jeff, I got some more for you on this.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to get your feelings on this too. So Johnny and Miguel at a Dee Snider concert. That was a lot of
that was very the Make-A-Wish concert, of course.
The Make-A-Wish concert, and his foot starts to tap. Dimitri and Yasmin.
Yes, so, that was out of nowhere. That was out of nowhere, definitely.
Out of nowhere, and it's how great to see that the nerds get it. You know, the kids that are bullied get the beautiful girls, whatever it is. Joseph LaRusso. So tell me what's happening here, Jeff, with Joseph LaRusso.
As far as what?
As far as anything, because he literally pops in. And I think he was in 1 to 2 episodes this past season.
I don't even know if he had that much. He was in literally one scene that I recall where he comes in and he's being obnoxious. And then they say, like, go to your room. And he left. And that was literally all you. And he was a pretty big deal in seasons 1 and 2. And now he's down to, the only character, than that kid this season was the, what's her name? The character. I gotta find it on my IMDb page. Aisha, who they basically wrote.
Yeah, they wrote her out.
Yeah, they wrote her out.
About that. So apparently they wrote her out because she, I guess, leaked information online electronically about the seasons.
I did not hear that story. That's good stuff. And
they decided that, you want to do that? We're going to not let you be a part of season 3. So that was a shame because I think she was a very pivotal character in the first 2 seasons. They certainly made up for her this year, but I think she would have been a great addition. So this was something we didn't discuss, and I thought this was really, really well done to the next level. Kreese's backstory.
Yes, that was good stuff also. It showed how he became. By the way, did you notice the scene, the very first part of the backstory on Kreese, where he's the busboy in the diner? What was that? The same diner that Back to the Future was filmed at?
It certainly seems like.
Oh my God! It was like, is Marty McFly going to come to a walk-on?
Yes, but certainly seems like it. You know what, Jeff? There's a great chance we should do research on that. There's a great chance you just nailed it because they use a lot of these same deals. So supposedly, also there are 2 more seasons left. They are envisioning that they can do this for 2 more years. How do you do this correctly? Because William Zabka and Ralph Macchio are both going to be 60 this upcoming year.
Yeah.
So how, and granted, they both look good for their age. They both look fantastic. There's, Ralph Macchio's dyeing the hair. Zabka just looks great. He looks like a very healthy 50-year-old. But
not only that, Kreese has got to be close to 70 or 70 plus.
He's got to be older than that too. Yeah. And that's a really good point because if you watch him when he walks, he's got a distinct limp. He has trouble walking, and a lot of times when they show him, they only show him from the waist up because when they show his legs, he does have trouble walking. There's an issue.
He's gonna, or they show a fight scene with him. It's gonna be like the later years of Steven Seagal, where they just show him from the waist up fighting, like, and
Right.
then you cut away to a scene of him doing like a leg sweep or something like that. That was when it was Fat Seagal, so, and he couldn't do the moves anymore. So anyway, before we move on, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I'm excited for the next step. Unfortunately, the next season, we're looking at about a year. I think it is January of next year. The big rumors are Terry Silver and Mike Barnes from the third movie are going to be the heavies that'll be coming back. I'm excited about that. Years ago, and then I'll wrap up with this, but years ago, which is probably 7 or 8 years ago, there was a Monster Mania convention in the suburb of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is right over the bridge from Philadelphia. And one of the discussion panels, they actually had William Zatka, Martin Kove, and Ralph Macchio there. And this is prior to Cobra Kai. And it was fantastic. And I was blown away in watching. I was with Zach, and we were watching this, and we were just blown away. And they were discussing that something was in the works, but they couldn't reveal what it was. And it's just amazing to see exactly what it became. But I've got the videos and the photos somewhere, and I've got to find it. But that may have been my favorite non-wrestling, fan fest panel that I've ever seen. These guys were just incredible. And Johnny Lawrence, William Zabka, comes off as the nicest guy. Macchio's a good guy. Martin Kove seems actually much nicer than Kreese, but William Zabka just comes off as a great guy. The only thing that I don't like is that I have to wait a year, because there is this momentum that is out right now. I think, the country is Cobra Kai. Is it Miyagi-Do? Is it Cobra Kai? Is it Cobra Do? Is it Miyagi Kai? Whatever.
Is it Eagle Fang?
Eagle Fang, is it? What is it? But I love it, and I just where am I going to be in a year? Will I be this excited? I hope I am, because I truly do love this show.
So now let's go to our chat about the great movie villains of all time. And as I will, spoiler alert, Barry and I have recorded this particular segment at an earlier time, so I started thinking about some people that were not on the list that probably deserved a spot. And one that I happened to see today, Gordon Gekko is not on this list, Barry. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, because it's a different type of villain too, but I like that.
And, I was thinking that Gordon Gekko would certainly fall into the, I believe it was Gary Hart that said it, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the best heels, the best villains are the ones that when they're telling you something, believe what they're telling you. Wasn't that Gary Hart that said that?
It was Gary Hart, and then whenever somebody referenced that, they always reference it along with the assassin.
Okay.
Because when the assassin spoke, you believed it.
Yes, and so like when I started thinking about Gordon Gekko and how maybe he belonged on this list, and then I started going through some of the people on the list, and so as Barry and I talk about this list, think about the people that are on here that really believe that which they're, and I'm talking about from a movie character standpoint, but, as you look at a character in a movie, does this character really believe what he's saying and what the character believes in? And so now let's go to that discussion, Barry, of the great movie villains in film history. Okay, so Barry, as promised, we are going to be talking. We promised this to the good folks that listened last week, ran out of time. So now it is time to discuss the best movie villains of all time. So a list I came across on the old interwebs, Barry, and they very poor job of editing, as I mentioned. They said it was a top 50 list, and I think they put like 55 names on here. So my numerical values or numbers that are given to each person that is listed may be slightly skewed. It's the first time I think we've ever used the word slightly skewed here on this podcast, Barry. So Barry, right off the top of your head, why don't you tell me, who is your all-time favorite movie villain?
Oh, man, that's a tough one, Jeff. It's going to come down to two guys for me. One is going to be Jimmy from Roadhouse, which is the asshole karate guy that works for Ben Gazzara's character, played by the actor Marshall Teague. And Marshall Teague, he's a legitimate karate guy. I mean, you could look at his moves in Roadhouse. You realize he knows his karate. Really good friend of Chuck Norris, I believe, has been on Walker. We talked about Walker last week. Has been on Walker like 6 or 7 times. I guess, a sparring partner with Chuck Norris as well. But I think my absolute favorite, Hans Gruber from the greatest Christmas movie of all time, the original Die Hard.
No, you mean one of the greatest action movies of all time.
Question.
Well, I'm sorry. I did not stutter. So let's go to this list, and we're going to start the list off with a question that I texted Barry before we started recording, because I think this is a valid question, because number 50 on this list is Johnny Lawrence from The Karate Kid. Now, Barry, the question that I have for you and for the listeners, if you will, who was the bigger villain in the original Karate Kid? Was it Johnny Lawrence or was it Kreese?
I'm going to say it was Kreese, and I'm going to tell you, I think Johnny Lawrence was an asshole. There are moments, especially at the end, where you could see, Johnny Lawrence kind of does that baby face a little bit, this is wrong, whatever. He's a teen, he's an asshole, but at the end of the day, Kreese, that's a villain right there. That is a villain etched in stone.
Yeah, and really there's a difference between somebody who's a villain and someone who's an asshole. And I think Johnny Lawrence was a product of what Kreese helped create. So I would agree with you. So number 50 on this list, and again, let's remember, we're going to get skewed here on the numbers, but number 50 is Johnny Lawrence, played by the great William Zabka in The Karate Kid. Number 49, Barry, Auric Goldfinger from the James Bond film Goldfinger. Thoughts real quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you're going back at that time. And you know what made he was very unique. This was a unique type of villain. So yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, good villain. Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. Garrett Frobe, by the way, the actor who played Auric Goldfinger, did not speak English. I believe, I don't know if his lines were either dubbed or he learned them phonetically. Let's see. Now, Barry, you're going to be very excited. I know I sent you the list, but I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it yet. Number 48, Sho'nuff from The Last Dragon.
Yeah, sure, he was a comedy heel. He's not the kind of villain that's going to, he was, look, he was fun. At the end of the day, he was actually fun. And who did he become? He was on a TV show, I think, for years. Julius J. Carey III, I think is his name. And he was on a show, and I completely forget it. But yeah, that's such a fun movie too,
Yeah. 47, General Zod in Superman 2.
Yeah, I guess so. I could see it.
I got to tell you, I am one of the few people that didn't mind Superman Returns. And that film, as opposed to the Christopher Reeve films, that's just me. But General Zod, very, very popular character among those that like the heels. Now, speaking of great heels, number 46, Dean Vernon Warmer from Animal House.
0.0.
Mr. No, was that Mr. Blue? Yeah, it was Mr. Blutarski. I lost my train of thought because Daniel Simpson Day had no grade point average. I was going to say Mr. Day, but he had no grade point average. So fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. I threw up near Dean Warmer. No, son, you threw up on Dean Warmer. Yes. So
what a great villain, and so perfect. Go fucking Iceberg, by the way.
Yeah,
so perfect for that role on so many levels. And Jeff, this is an interesting subject that maybe we look at because I've been talking with my son about this one, but best college movies of all time. And I think most people are going to say Animal House has got to be one, but maybe we look at this down the road at some point,
Yeah, that's a good idea. And Lou pointing out that instead of Superman Returns, I may have been referring to Man of Steel. Very next at number 45. Now, here is an underrated performance by one of the great actors of all time, and that is by Dennis Hopper, Howard Payne in the movie Speed.
Yeah, he was great in that movie too. And Dennis Hopper, what an interesting actor. Definitely a guy that was out of Hollywood for a while, not doing a whole lot, and then came back. That was he was so menacing and so scary. And Speed was a really fun movie. And you posted something this week about the great Keanu Reeves and really the range of what and certainly he's a similar character in a lot of his movies, but he's been in great action movies between Speed and John Wick. He's done Bill and Ted, The Matrix. I mean, this is a guy that really has just had a hell of a career when you stop and think about it. But I love that choice of Dennis Hopper. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, next. Ooh, I'm glad to see they didn't forget that movies were made before 1970, Barry. As we're going back, oh, God, this is like 1945, 46. Orson Welles as Harry Lime in The Third Man.
Yeah, I don't. I think I've seen the movie, but I can't give a whole lot of context on it.
Great atmospheric post-war Austria. I want to say Vienna, maybe, but one of the great sort of noirish movies. If you ever get if that's ever on TCM or one of those movie channels like that, it's definitely worth a look. Next, we have at number 43, Dr. Belloc, the villainous French guy that's always stealing shit from Indiana Jones in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Bear.
Yeah, and that, boy, what a fantastic movie. First off, Raiders of the Lost. If you've never seen it, and I know that.
Why are you listening to our show?
We'll finish the show, but then immediately go out and watch this movie because it's fantastic. Belloc was good. What I liked about Belloc too was he wasn't your traditional overly sinister type of heel. He certainly was motivated. He was greedy. It was money, but he was smooth. He was a good-looking guy. I say that. He was a good-looking guy, but he had this real smoothness about him. But I like that choice also.
Yeah, it would have been real easy for them to go with the guy that was the Gestapo agent.
Exactly.
Ends up getting the thing pressed in or burned into his hand. He was the more over-the-top heel. But Belloc was a good word, very smoothly sinister, if you will.
Yep.
So next we got at number 42, Christian Bale as Patrick Bellows in American Psycho. Can you hear the Huey Lewis in the background?
Yeah, he was good. Christian Bale is a phenomenal actor too. He is. I watched a movie. I think it was The Mechanic, if I'm correct.
Yes, and he dropped an incredible amount of weight for that role.
And that's exactly where I was going to go with that too. He
thunder.
Yeah, well, it's okay. He looks sickly in the movie because he dropped so much. It had to be very unhealthy, but that's the dedication to acting right there, which I think he's not a movie star. The guy's a legitimate actor. He was menacing, but he's good. I thought he was a fantastic in Batman as well.
Yeah, for my money, I've said it before, the best Batman.
There you go.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No,
Chris Zaha. Go ahead. I'm waiting for you. Tell me I'm wrong. Because I'm sure Zaha is going to say, oh, no, it's somebody else. Let's see. 41, speaking of menacing Barry, I saw this movie for the very first time at a midnight showing at the old Plantation Theater on Broward 441. That's harkening back to the day. And that is Leatherface in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You know what's really cool about that, Jeff, is that you just told us the movie theater where you saw that film. And I can tell you the movie theater, I saw it at the Cameo Theater in Miami Beach when it was still a movie theater. And that would have been probably 1980, probably 1980, maybe 79, 80, 81, somewhere right around there. And I don't think that there's a million movies that we can tell you the theater that we saw it in, meaning it left an impression on us. And I know that movie left a fucking impression on me.
Yes.
Right? Exactly.
Yes.
Leatherface was a fantastic, and look, he was different. I mean, that whole movie was different, which was pretty cool, but Leatherface at that stage was a very different type of character that you were seeing. And I agree with you. That was Gunnar Hansen, if I'm correct. Yes, he was fantastic.
There were, wasn't he the guy that was it Stern? No, you know who it was? It was Paul and Young Ron. He made an appearance and he was on the show for like 10 seconds and they kicked him off the show. Gunnar Hansen.
Really?
Yeah, I remember that.
What?
I can't remember what it was. Yeah, he did something that really pissed him off and they literally just kicked him right off the show. Wow. But let me tell you what I remember about Texas Chainsaw when I first saw it. First of all, when Leatherface is picking up one of the victims and he puts him on the hook, the sound effect of the hook going into the back of the person was, I'm sure it was like they put something in a watermelon or something like that, but just that sickening noise of the hook going into the person, that. And the other thing is when they're running from the house and there's a guy, I want to say like he's in a wheelchair and someone's and they're pushing him and they run into Leatherface and Leatherface with a chainsaw and he goes and he's cutting the guy in half, like literally from the top of the skull down, and he's going through the guy and he gets stuck midway through. And he's like, and and he does it. So it's like he stops in the middle of cutting the guy in half, and then he finishes off after like restarting the chainsaw. Oh my God, that, and of course when they kind of prick the girl's finger and they stick it in the grandfather's mouth, and the grandfather's like sucking it. Oh my God in heaven. That movie just completely freaked me out when I first saw it.
And the grandfather, who's about 190 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, that's all they feed him. Yeah. So, okay.
Fantastic movie though. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Next, number 40 from Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. It's Khan! The great Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah. So this is where you vary a little bit. He was cheesy. He was certainly everybody talked about, and to this day, look, people are still talking about Khan and the Wrath of Khan. You know what it was? It was. I think it was tough for me at that stage because
did they say that at AEW shows? By the way, Khan.
Yeah. He was Mr. Rourke to me, I think, at that stage. So to see him as Khan was, I don't know if I was fully buying it, but it's a good heel.
My dear guest, welcome to Fantasy Island. Anyway,
they're playing.
Yeah, exactly. I will say a controversial opinion, never a huge Star Trek guy. I know that is going to come as a stunning development to some, but I will say the movies I watched, I like the one with, I want to say with Chris Pine. They kind of rebooted the franchise. I like that one. And of all the ones they did with Shatner and Nimoy, this was probably my favorite one of those movies. So, and of course, because I wasn't a fan of the TV show, I didn't realize the history that Ricardo Montalban had as a guest star on the TV show as Khan, and they brought him back as the lead heel in Star Trek II. Okay, next, Barry, single guys. When this movie came out, it is Alex Forrest from Fatal Attraction, Glenn Close, never more terrifying, Bear.
Oh yeah, it was. So cheat on your wife. You're obviously not doing a background check. Cheat on your wife with this woman who is physically less attractive than your wife, first off.
Yeah, Ann Archer.
Who was beautiful at that stage. She had a little bit of work now, so a little different. But that was, and it was. I think I remember the scene. I think it was the rabbit, the dead rabbit that got me. But it was scary. Glenn Close too. Glenn Close does not get the credit as an actor that she deserves. And I can't tell you the last movie she's been in, but I don't think she's ever done anything bad. To me, she'll always be Garp's mother from The World According to Garp.
Yeah, and she has a new movie that's out on Netflix.
Oh, she does.
Good. Where it's like she's like the matriarch of this like family from the backwoods or something like that. And she's completely invested in the role because she is in no way attractive at all. She plays a woman from the backwoods, no makeup, or the makeup makes her look uglier. And, the fact that she's willing to do that for a role that I understand, I haven't seen it yet, but I understand she's fantastic in the role. I wish I could tell you what the name of the movie was, but it's something.
Do you remember, Jeff, a movie she made, got to be 85, 86, with Jeff Bridges called The Jagged Edge?
Yes, she was fantastic. Yeah.
Oh.
Was she the defense attorney in that movie?
She was his defense attorney, correct? Because he was on trial for murdering his wife, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great movie. You go through that whole movie. I guess I could spoil it 35 years later, right? That's allowed?
Okay, wait a minute. If you don't want to know what Barry's going to tell you, skip 30 seconds ahead. Go ahead, Barry.
Ding, 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 ding. So you go through the whole movie believing that Jeff Bridges is innocent of these charges. And at the very end of the movie, she finds the typewriter that I guess he had been sending the letters out. And she finds the killer, that he's the killer because of the typewriter. It's the clue. And then there's the big scene. But Jeff Bridges comes across as this great guy for 2 hours. In the last 10 minutes, it's discovered he's actually the killer. He is the guy.
What's the movie? I can't believe I don't know. The one with Richard Gere and Edward Norton.
Oh, that's a great movie. Internal Affairs.
No.
Oh, no, you're right. What was Internal Affairs? That's Andy Garcia and Richard Gere. Did you ever see that? We're really getting off topic.
I think the movie you're thinking of is Primal Fear.
Yes. Yeah. A great book by William Deal, and a really good movie with the big twisteroo ending at the end. So, but getting back to this one, Alex Forrest in Fatal Attraction, Barry, the line that a lot of people remember, "I will not be ignored." That was her big line from the movie.
Yeah.
So, look who's coming in at number 38. It's Alan Rickman. No, not from the Robin Hood movie. It's Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber in Die Hard. Please ramble on, Bear.
Yeah, that's all I consider for 6 hours. I such an Alan Rickman fan. First off, he can do no wrong in my eyes, regardless whether he's Snape or Alan Rickman and Hans Gruber. It doesn't matter. But to me, I just thought Hans Gruber was so great. And obviously I do love the movie Die Hard, and the Christmas shit. It's all fun. I don't really care whether it's a Christmas movie or not. But I just think he's such this cool, suave heel, and in my eyes, he kind of was at the forefront of ushering in British heels in America cinema. Certainly, there had been some before, and especially if you're in England, there are a lot of British heels. But in America, it seemed like right after that movie, they made all heels have this very sinister British accent, a la kind of Alan Rickman, Jeremy Irons.
Yes, who played his brother a couple Die Hards later. Yes. Yeah. So, and I have to say that Jeremy Irons was really good in the performance as Hans Gruber's brother. Yeah. So, okay. Next 37 is the character. This is more a character from a book because there wasn't like an actor playing this role. And that's the character of Sauron from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, who was, I would have gone, even though Sauron was like the lead heel. If you're going heel, Christopher Lee did the heel turn in the beginning of the story. So I think Christopher Lee's character of Saruman would have been a better character to put in this list. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't really know enough about the Lord of the Rings. I know you're a huge fan. I don't know enough about it.
What the hell does the matter with you?
Right. But I can tell you, Christopher Lee, I mean, he was great.
Oh, yeah.
That I know. Yeah.
Fantastic. And, even though you did not take the time to watch the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, plus, all the preambles, thank you, with The Hobbit, Mister, I'm going to throw you a bone by giving number 36 from Point Break, the great Patrick Swayze as Bodhi.
Yeah, is he? He's not a heel.
No,
and there's a lot
he's a tweener at best.
He's a tweener at best. Look, he's got his ideals and I know he robs banks. He shot a couple of people, killed people.
What?
He's tied up women. He's beaten people up. But at the end of the day, he's got a code that he lives by. It is the waves. It's the surf. He's very spiritual. And he made some bad decisions. I don't think it makes him a bad guy. I don't see him as a villain.
He made some bad decisions.
He did. Look, he made some bad decisions.
Murdered, robbed banks.
He made some bad Look, it's all he needed money to go surfing. I think we can all relate to this.
He had a lifestyle that he had to have
exactly.
Money for, So anyway, now Barry, let me ask you. The next one is number 35. Have you ever seen the movie? I believe it was Nicolas Cage and oh God, I can see her face now. The blonde.
Elizabeth Shue, Leaving Las Vegas.
No. It was Wild at Heart. Why can't I think of the actress?
Oh, Laura Dern. Absolutely.
Yes. Have you seen that?
Very good. Yeah, very good.
The
very
character in the movie of Bobby Peru, that's played by Willem Dafoe. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie in years, but yeah.
Apparently, he's the guy who tries to hit on her at a bar. And he's very sleazy and grimy. Got a definite dental situation going on there. But
that's William Dafoe, right?
Yeah. There's something else that Willem Dafoe is known for, allegedly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I do get exactly. Yeah. Okay.
So next,
he on the list, by the way?
I don't know. So
yes, all right.
So number 34. Now here's one that I agree with because I was not a huge fan of this particular movie in the series, and I thought this was really played too cartoonish. And that is the performance of Danny DeVito as the Penguin in Batman Returns.
Jeff, you are, again, fifth time today, I believe, 100% correct. Danny DeVito, it was too cartoonish. I actually found that Michael Keaton Batman very cartoonish, that even Jack Nicholson as the Joker was a little too cartoonish for my taste. So I would absolutely agree with you.
Barry, I will correct you by saying it was not the fifth time. Those 4 times was last week, as I'm sure you remember now, Barry.
Oh, yeah, it was last week that we.
Right. That's what I thought you were going to say.
It all runs in together at this stage, but yes.
Of course. Number 33, interesting choice, Barry, from 2001: A Space Odyssey. It is HAL 9000, the computer.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree with that one, and that's where the list is taking this IPA Starbucks latte hipster kind of twist. Whoever wrote this, Hal the Computer. I mean, really, that's one of the great movie villains of all time. Really, I don't. I'm sorry. No, I'm out.
What about, and I reached out to you because I have not seen this movie, but you told me this was an excellent movie. At number 32, Asami Yamazaki from the movie Audition.
Yeah, the movie Audition is great too. I actually saw that. I can't remember the theater, but I saw it in the Village in New York City when it came out. And there were certain theaters there that would only show movies from Asia, whether it was Japan, China, or Korea. And
these were mainstream movies from Asia, not the stuff you watch at home, right?
As a matter of fact, you're 100% correct. For the second time this episode, you are absolutely 100% correct. But Audition is a fantastic movie. And the director, it's Takeshi Miike. And I'm sure I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. He's done some really, really good stuff. And I for years, I thought this guy's going to break through and be a mainstream director in the United States. And it hasn't happened. But he does tremendous work. And Audition is a very scary movie at the end of the day.
Speaking of scary, Barry, have you ever been to Cabrini Green in Chicago?
I have not.
Do you know what that is?
I absolutely, and if you're referencing a movie, I even know the movie you're going to reference.
Yes. What is the one thing you do not do when you're in a bathroom at Cabrini Green?
You never say the name Candyman.
5 times, I believe. No, you do not want to do that because bad things will happen involving flies and it's that. But a great heel character in that movie, no question.
Oh, was he. And I never thought the movie was all that great. I think a lot of it had to do with the direction of that movie. But man, I thought the character of Candyman was great. The actor who played him, Tony Todd, did an amazing job. And
made a career out of it.
It made a career. And actually, he's still, I think they're rebooting it or something. Yep. And I think he's going to be in it. But you also, Virginia Madsen. Yes. I had a crush on Virginia Madsen, especially at that stage. She was unbelievably gorgeous.
Yeah, good looking woman, no question about it. So now let's move to number 30, one of my choices for my favorite villains of all time. And that is from the great Rutger Hauer, Roy Batty from Blade Runner. I have seen things that you people would not believe. And of course, Mrs. Bowdren coming through with the Roy Batty t-shirt for one of my Christmas gifts. Great Very performance, nice. Great movie.
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing I'm going to say, Jeff, that you wouldn't be able to convey better because your favorite movie. The only thing I would say about this, he probably deserves to be higher on the list. Without even seeing the list, I say that because I haven't read it, only because this was a unique villain. And, a lot of times these villains, they do tend to be cookie cutter. Again, last week we talked about Walker, Texas Ranger. The villains are almost always identical.
Actually, that was 2 weeks ago, Barry, as I'm sure you remember.
Is it 2 weeks ago at this stage? All right. All the villains do tend to be cookie cutter, Roy Batty was, before and after, there hasn't been another villain like Roy Batty. I would place him higher on the list just based off of that. And here was the thing. Look, we all wanted to be Roy Batty to some degree. It's like it's the old, Ric Flair line of whatever. The girls want to get with him and the guys want to be him. He was that fucking cool.
Okay, let's talk for a second about the great Rutger Hauer. Best villainous performance by Rutger Hauer. Is it Roy Batty in Blade Runner? Is it the character of the Hitcher, the title character, from that movie with C. Thomas Howell, or from the Sylvester Stallone movie Nighthawks. When he's Wolfgar. Which character of those three do you like best?
So I think the Hitcher. I think he was most a villain in the Hitcher, most menacing. Because even as Roy Batty, I didn't. You could kind of buy into what he's saying in some. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, he's definitely in parts. He is a sympathetic heel, especially at the end when he kind of makes a babyface turn. Because one of the things about the character of Roy Batty is Roy Batty discovers exactly what it means to be human at the time that he's going to die, and he realizes all the stuff that he will miss, all the memories that he has that will not be forgotten in time. That's part of what his speech is. But now let's talk about the character of Wolfgar, the terrorist in Nighthawk. He was fantastic in that. Just very subtly sleazy. The bearded Sylvester Stallone. I think that was the only movie that Sly Stallone had a beard in. It wasn't a really good look on him, I don't think. So if you're putting I think The Hitcher might be. I would not have been at all shocked if The Hitcher, at the very end of this list, I'm going to mention a couple people that I thought should have made the list that aren't on here. And now that I think about it, the title character in The Hitcher with C. Thomas, that guy was terrifying. He puts a finger in C. Thomas Howell's French fries.
He ties Jennifer Jason Leigh between two trucks.
Yes.
And then basically she gets ripped in half. So he was in his C. Thomas Howell, having no idea for the most part what the fuck is going on, especially at the beginning. He was such a great heel. And again, and maybe this is a testament to Rutger Hauer, but he really made this character his own. Yes. This was not something I think that we had ever seen before, and I don't think we've seen it since.
Okay, next, I could go on talking about Roy Batty forever. I know. Just like you with Hans Gruber. Number 29, Count Dracula. Bela Lugosi from the original Dracula.
Yeah, he's a great villain. The only thing with Bela Lugosi, and I let me say, I love Bela Lugosi, or is it Bela Lugosi? If you're pronouncing it the correct way. I've seen, I would imagine, the majority of films he's made, whether whether it's a Dracula or a vampire movie, some of the Ed Wood movies, absolutely. I watch Vanguard every Saturday night that I talk about, and Bella's on there once a month on some film. So I've seen it. Sometimes he's over the top, and that I think that's part of the charm of Bela Lugosi is that he was such a he was a very studious type of actor. So his enunciation of words, the way he projects, he doesn't talk. He basically raises his voice. Everything is super loud. A lot of appreciation. The only thing I would say, at times, the stuff comes off a little cartoonish, and not cartoonish in a way that you're going to laugh at it. Cartoonish in a way that it's just a little bit over the top. But I appreciate that. But he's a good heel. I just don't know where he ranks.
Okay, next we have number 28. Now, I'm going to say that when this list was compiled, I want to say it was about a year or so ago, because they do not include the performance of Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, which I think would definitely be on this list. So that's why there's not a mention of the Joaquin Phoenix version of the Joker, because at 28, they have Jack Nicholson as the Joker in Batman.
I go back to your comments about the Penguin.
Yes, little cartoonish, no question about it.
Yeah, I just find it was a little too cartoonish, and I get that can work it, as well as that if you're, look, Batman it was a cartoon, it was a comic book for years, and a comic in the newspaper, so certainly there is that correlation to it. It just I don't know, it's just for some reason.
I will say, much like people that portray Batman, whether it's Christian Bale, whether it's Michael Keaton, whether it's George Clooney, whether it's Val Kilmer, whether it goes back to Adam West. Adam West, thank you. Yeah. Everyone has their own favorite Batman, and everyone has their own favorite Joker. Some people like Nicholson, some people like Cesar Romero. First time we've ever said the word Cesar Romero. Very suave, very debonair, and other people like. Perhaps people that will be mentioned later in this list. But I digress. Barry, you're a huge fan of the movie Scarface. Am I correct?
Oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Number 27, Alejandro Sosa.
Yeah, so who was Alejandro Sosa? Which one was he?
He was the guy. He was one of the drug dealers that sent his guys over to get Pacino at the end of the movie.
Okay, so he was the I totally forget. So he was the guy, brown skin, always wearing glasses. Yeah, he passed away. It's actually he played a bad guy, this suave kind of Latin bad guy in a lot of films and TV. And I researched him. He passed away years ago. He was very good. I don't know if he makes this high up though, because I don't think the role was meaty enough. Am I wrong? Or I don't think that there was enough
No,
that role.
there are people on this list that I sit there and go, like you said, you mentioned, giving the devil his due, Hans Gruber should be higher up on this list. Alex Forrest should be higher on this list. Roy Batty should be higher on this list. And there are people that we still haven't got to that you sit there and you go, okay, maybe they belong on a list, but not this high. Let's go next to fantastic performance by Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood at number 26, Bear.
Yeah, so
I've forsaken my child.
Yeah, he's you know what makes you're right. This is a good one, and I'll tell you why. Because you really want to fucking kill this guy. You know what I mean? This is such a good villain,
evil motherfucker in this movie.
Yeah, he really is, and that right there, that's a great criteria for a villain. I wanted to see this guy die in the movie, which tells you everything you need to know. I like that choice.
Yeah. Number 26, the character of Sergeant Barnes in Platoon, played by Tom Berenger.
Yeah, he's a douche. Look, he's a douche, and there's several people in that movie that because I watched Platoon a month or two ago, maybe over the summer, maybe a little longer than that. He is, and there's a couple of scenes. There's the rape, the rape scenes and the killing of all these innocent people, and he's really scary. Between the facial makeup of having, I guess part of his face blown off, whatever that was, he comes across that's another really, really good choice right there.
So here again, I'm going to stop because I'm thinking of people they didn't list that could have been listed. Another Vietnam film, Casualties of War, with Michael J. Fox, performed by Sean Penn as sort of the sergeant in that. I remember Michael J. Fox. I don't know, Sarge, are we supposed to be doing this? And that's another pretty evil character there too, and a similar type of performance. Now, next at number 24, as I said, this list came out, I want to say 2019. Which Skarsgård brother was it that played Pennywise the Clown in the latest edition of It? Do you remember?
So it wasn't Alexander. It was the other one.
Yeah. Okay. Bill?
I think it's Bill. Maybe, I think so, yeah.
So this one that they have listed at number 24 is the one that was portrayed by Tim Curry in the version of It from the late 80s. Now, I think the Skarsgård guy nailed the character much better than Tim. And Tim Curry's performance was very good. It was really good. But when you see the latest, and I'm not talking about the ones where they're adults, I'm talking about the one from a couple years back with their kids. Wow, I thought he was fantastic in that role. And we talked about it on one of our episodes, how great the guy was.
We actually raved about it. I think the difference too is I think he had a lot of freedom. First off, that you're talking about an R-rated movie in a theater versus what was a miniseries on TV. So you can probably do more with it. I think Tim Curry made an impression because that was really one of the first times we had ever seen a truly evil clown. Now it's probably been done to death, but I would agree with you. We might be the only ones. I think Skarsgård, and that's not to take away from Tim Curry. I think it's the freedom that Skarsgård had.
Yeah.
With the role. Yeah.
Okay, next 23. Here again, it's a doll. Chucky in Child's Play is the number 23 most villainous character in movie history, according to this. What do you think?
I guess
John Gruden is pretty villainous, but that's another Chucky for another time.
Right. I see what you did there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I watched this movie this past summer as well. I think summer into fall. Every fucking day seems the same right now. But I guess it's almost like is the computer a villain? Is the doll a villain? I guess if you're going to go with that kind of criteria, I just don't know when you start putting a doll this high. It just seems gimmicky to me to do something like that.
Okay, let me just the next one, which would be number 22, is The Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. Now, that was, in retrospect, sort of cartoonish. Was she more villainous as the Wicked Witch of the West, or the little lady in the small town in Kansas that was going to steal her dog, Dorothy's dog?
Right.
It's two halves of the same character. Margaret Hamilton, who most people know for, was it Folgers or Maxwell House? She ended up doing these ads when she got to be later in life. But she was a tremendous actress back in the day. But the same thing. Is that a movie that's like a family movie like that? she's a villain. Like you want to go boo, boo, hiss, but really, are they evil, or is it more of a cartoonish version of evil?
Well, do you know what makes her really scary is that The Wizard of Oz has been seen by small children, unlike, like, say, Chucky, which is an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
The Wizard of Oz is, kids are the ones who are going to be watching it. And you go back X amount of years ago. Let's go back to when we were growing up and we had 4 channels of television, Jeff, and The Wizard of Oz played every year during Christmas and probably Thanksgiving. Like, they played it. And as small kids, she was kind of scary. She's a good villain. I actually like that choice, even though it is, yes, it can be cartoonish. I do like the choice of Margaret Hamilton.
No, and you make a good point. That's fair. So next, number 21. Oh wow! Now this is a villainous character just on a whole different level, and that's the character of Thanos on Avengers: Infinity War. The guy wants to basically take down the whole planet. That's a pretty big villain.
Yeah, it is. This is where I'll break kayfabe. I have no point of reference on this, so I've never seen that movie. I don't know. I see people.
Hold on. I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, folks, welcome back. We're glad you joined us. Those of you that have fainted by the fact that Barry has never seen Avengers: Infinity War. Please continue, Barry.
That was good. Well, there's no way I'm topping.
Zaha has flat out stroked out at this point.
Yeah, every guy in our group right now, the 98.7%, which is all male in our group, maybe even a little bit higher, is all going, turn in your fucking man card.
With this, though.
We do, absolutely. And I don't want to, and they're probably watching this also and probably listening right now saying, turn in your man card because you've never seen this movie. I don't know. I'm not a superhero guy. I tried. There were certain movies that I did like, that I saw, that I enjoyed, but God bless people like fucking Mandalorian. Mandalorian shows up, Jeff, and within an hour of it being released, people have seen every episode or something. I don't know.
I have to say I've watched one episode of The Mandalorian. That's all.
I don't know what it's about. It's like a baby Yoda. That's all I know.
My son-in-law told me how fantastic it was. I watched one episode. I was like, yeah, it's good. So tell us, because they are waiting with bated breath, tell the listeners of this fine podcast, give me a superhero movie or a something that you've watched like that.
Absolutely. Hellboy. I've seen both Hellboys, including the reboot, which would be 3. I loved Hellboy. I've seen, I think I saw all the early Spider-Men, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Men. I saw the early Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, which I guess he's still Iron Man. I've seen Batman. I think I've seen them all. And I've seen the earlier Supermen, not the later ones. But when you get into like X-Men and Infinity Wars and all that, I don't think I've seen any of those.
I will only say my daughter has named 3 dogs after X-Men characters. So she's pretty hardcore into the old X-Men series. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, now speaking of people that absolutely belong on this list as a movie character, probably even higher than they have it at number 20 here, Barry, Norman Bates in Psycho.
It's a good choice too. The only thing I would say with Norman Bates is there's I guess a suspension of disbelief, but you're not really aware that he's the heel until much later in the movie.
Sure.
And he's not, again, here's a guy with mental illness. It's not that I guess, you could say he's a unique villain, which he is, but I don't think he's a true villain at heart. I think he's a guy going through mental illness, right?
Every boy needs his mother.
Right.
So, yes. Now, speaking of true villainous people, again, I think too low here. Number 19, Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs.
That's a fucking heel right there, my man. And whether it's Brian Cox playing him in Manhunter or the much more famous Anthony Hopkins playing him there, in all the other movies, he's great. And he is, I could watch, we talk about Silence of the Lambs, Don't Hurt Mommy's Baby, the lamb stopped crying yet, whatever it is. I could watch Silence.
Give me back my dog.
Right? Queen.
It puts the lotion in the bag. That's another heel character, actually. That's James Gumb.
Right.
Who, by the way, should be on this list. Let me just say.
Yeah. It's just a fantastic movie. And Anthony Hopkins, I don't know how many actors could have portrayed Hannibal Lecter with the same level of menacing that Anthony Hopkins did. And that is a remarkable performance that I think will hold up forever. It's never anything that's ever going to be dated. I like that on the list, and I like that at the position that it's in as well.
Yeah, and just a fantastic character as written by the writer Thomas Harris, I believe. I think he debuted in the book Red Dragon, which is where they came up with Manhunter from. So a great character. At number 18, now here's one. It's a great character for the fear that it instills, but there's no speaking. That's the character of the Xenomorph from the original movie Alien.
Yeah, but then what are we making villains if we're doing if we're making the Xenomorph, is Predator now a villain?
That's fair. Yeah.
Right. I just mean is that, that's, again, it's, if we're doing shit, that's either computer generated, which I don't think Alien was. I don't think they were doing it at that stage, but that somebody created that. I just don't know if that becomes, I don't know. That's certainly open for interpretation on somebody's end, but great monster, but I just don't know if it hits as far as being a villain. That's just
sure. Now, going back a few years here, I want to say 1962, Betty Davis as Baby Jane in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. You ever seen that one, Bear?
Absolutely. And boy, was she fucking creepy, too.
Yeah, with Joan Crawford also. Two great legendary Hollywood actresses.
Hated each other.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And that
did.
What was it? She fed her sister like a rat for lunch or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, her sister, Joan Crawford's in a wheelchair, and Betty Davis brings her lunch, and it's a rat served on a plate. And yeah, she's pretty, and the makeup is pretty terrifying, too.
The makeup and the hairstyle, remember that?
I got to tell you, you got to appreciate an actress. We mentioned Glenn Close earlier for the makeup job she has in her new series on Netflix. Betty Davis completely just uglified herself, for that role by putting on this garish makeup as this elderly Hollywood actress that was starting to fade in her beauty, or had faded, and so she was wearing this garish makeup in an attempt to make. You got to give respect to someone that takes that role and makes it that much her own. Okay, next I will go at number 15. This is a really strong performance. And of course, naturally, I didn't write down the actress's name, from the movie Gone Girl, the character of Amy Dunn. Have you seen Gone Girl?
I have not. No.
Fantastic performance. And again, a movie that has a real twist ending to it. Just excuse me, really, really strong. I apologize for not having written down you
just said something that I really like. And it's so profound. I think that is the criteria of what I look for a great villain, as well as that when you take a character and you make it your own, much like Anthony Hopkins did in
Rosamund Pike. Excuse me, Rosamund Pike.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Very attractive. Yes. Yeah. And I know what the movie's about, actually. I just never saw it, but yeah, I like that criteria though, about making the role your own.
Yeah. The next, number 14, we referenced last week or the week before, the stuff that Keanu Reeves has done in his career. And in The Matrix, his competition, his adversary was Agent Smith in The Matrix, who also was in the actor was in the Lord of the Rings. And now I got to look up the actor. Go ahead, Barry. Talk about Agent Smith in The Matrix while I look up this guy's name.
You know what? I never loved the Matrix films, and I don't know if I'm too stupid to fully get it, or if it was just something about the Matrix for me just truly never worked, and I tried to.
Hugo Weaving, thank you, Lou.
Hugo Weaving, very Australian actor, actually.
Yes, very good. Made a ton of great movies.
Yeah, made a lot in Australia. I think was in that movie Gallipoli. With Mel Gibson that which I really, so he is a great actor. The Matrix, for whatever reason, I was never able to connect. But he's a great actor. So
number 13, a truly terrifying character as portrayed by Kathy Bates, Annie Wilkes in Misery.
If you disagree with her decision to be on this list, just move on.
She's gonna cobble you.
She will cobble you. That scene will stay. If I saw that scene, much like you did, Jeff, in the theaters, and that scene stays with you. Weeks, months, years later, decades later, that scene will stay with you. She did a tremendous. Kathy Bates is really an underappreciated actress. She does a lot of television now. She's on American Horror Story every year. She is through the roof fantastic. Just an amazing, amazing actress.
She was in Fried Green Tomatoes. She was
where she was likable.
Yeah, and she was in for I think at least one season of The Office.
That's right. Yeah,
fantastic
That's
actress.
Right. She was. Yeah,
no question about it. Number 12. Let's go back to one of Barry Rose's all-time favorite movies. It's Arnold. I'll be back. The Terminator.
I don't know if he should be in the top 20 as a villain, but the Terminator to me is in my top 20 movies of all time. And I watched it 4 days ago, and I probably have seen it 50 times this year alone because it's been on cable every day. I love it. I just don't know if he's a true villain. I don't know. So
I think people might have trouble remembering him as a villain in the first one because of the babyface turn in the second one and all the movies that they've done afterwards. But in the first one, he was truly terrifying in that role.
He was so good. Yes.
Yeah. Now, speaking of truly terrifying, number 11 as portrayed by Javier Bardem, that is Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. What's the most you've ever lost on a flip of a coin? Wow, was he great in this movie, Barry?
He was great too, and I believe this is the only movie where the murder weapon was an air gun, which I always thought was such a unique weapon to kill somebody. But he was. This was next level acting, and again, referencing what you said, Jeff. Not anybody could have stepped into this role because he definitely he completely went into this role and morphed it into something else. There's just something that is almost ethereal about the way that he actually does this role. I would say I love the placement on it. This is a great heel. Yes, absolutely.
And here's a couple things. Number one, spoiler alert for a movie that's been out for, 15, 20 years now. He gets away with it at the end. He walks away and, never be seen again. And, the character so completely terrifies Tommy Lee Jones's character that Tommy Lee Jones quits the police force, because this is somebody that he's never seen the likes of before. And let me mention how great Javier Bardem was in Skyfall as the agent that had been sort of left out to hang by the British MI6 or whatever that James Bond's a part of, and that M has left out, and he gets his revenge at the end of the movie, but ends up dying doing so. He was fantastic. Oh my God, the scene, Barry, where he starts taking apart his jaw that has been affected by the acid. Remember that?
Oh,
he starts pulling his jaw out, and you're like going, oh my God. So fantastic actor. We don't see enough of that guy. He does a lot of work, I think, in the Spanish cinema. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, this guy is married to Penelope Cruz.
That's right. You're 100% correct.
Wow, that's not a bad little go home gift to us. So he was fan. If you've never seen No Country for Old Men, that's a fantastic movie. Number 10. I tell you what, Barry. Before we get to number 10, the last 10 that we got here, Barry, can you think of anyone that we haven't done yet? That I shouldn't say that. Let me change that because you might end up saying somebody that's
right.
Yeah. So I'll give you three names of characters that I thought were fantastic that should be on the list that weren't mentioned anywhere. Okay. My number one is Luther from the Warriors. Warriors, come out to play. Oh, he's fantastic. He was great in 48 Hours too. Yeah. That guy is great. He was great in Commando, yeah. Just a fantastic actor.
You promised you'd let me go.
Yeah. So, and then going back old school, because I'm a big Hitchcock fan, Raymond Burr as Lars Thorson in Rear Window. You remember that? He was the guy that cut his wife up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And then it's sort of a double header from North by Northwest, the character of Mr. Von Damme, not Rob, as played by James Mason, and his henchman Leonard, played by Martin Landau, from the movie North by Northwest. Fantastic, because they were both very, let me see how I can put this. They were very I don't want to say very, they were slightly effeminate at a time where that was seen as sinister. That's very not politically correct to say that now, but that was part of what made them, the fact that they were just a little too friendly with one another for audiences in the mid to late 50s. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, it was definitely a different time. I like those choices as well. So to answer your question, there is one that comes to mind, but only because you gave a slight hint a little bit earlier, and that was the first thing that I thought of. But yeah, there's a couple that are out there. I don't want to say it because I have a feeling, much like when we were talking last week about great gimmicks with like guys like the Sheik, there are a couple that I think are the greats of all time that I'm sure you're going to be mentioning.
Sure. Let me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to mention 5 more. And then before we get to the last ones, I'm going to go onto our Facebook page and mention some that we haven't talked about yet that people have brought up that deserve a mention. Okay. Next, number 10, Michael Myers in Halloween. Now, Michael Myers, to me, in the very first one, was absolutely fantastic. By the way, just for those of you expecting it, no Jason from the Friday the 13th movies I want to mention. But Michael Myers in the original Halloween was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, he was. I agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Number 9, wasn't as big a fan of the later, the 12 or 14 sequels that they've done. Number 9. Fantastic performance by Robert Mitchum in The Night of the Hunter as Harry Powell, the guy who on his knuckles had tattooed love on one hand, hate on the other. Have you ever seen Night of the Hunter?
Absolutely. Yeah, he was great. He was
the only movie ever directed by the great actor Charles Laughton, and Robert Mitchum and Shelley Winters is in that. And that's a great movie about a preacher that is absolutely terrifying these kids because he wants to get what he believes the money that their mother has left them or their father has left them. And great performance. Number 8, Barry, you ever seen Chinatown?
Oh my God, yes.
John Huston is Noah Cross, who he loves his daughter a little too much in that movie.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy too. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good, unique as well. So yeah, I like that. Yes,
and very outside the box. That's not somebody, when you think of great villains, you don't think of. But wow, yeah, that was when Faye Dunaway tells Jack Nicholson, you kind of go, oh my, this is getting a little creepy. Yeah. Next, number 7, legendary Hollywood villain Freddy Krueger from The Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one. Have you seen all of them? One of them? 2 of them? How many have you seen of the?
I've seen them all. And let me say thank you to my good friend Kevin Dignam, who sent me a Nightmare on Elm Street poster that I just got in the mail today. So I want to thank him for that. This is where I'm going to disagree with that, though. And the first movie, I think he was, again, unique and maybe one of the great villains, but every movie following was based partially off a comedy. Yeah. And a lot of it had it. And at that point, when you start to mix the comedy into it, I think you're starting to dilute the villainy. Is that a word? Villainy?
So is the first one in your mind the best one?
Far and away. Not even close.
Okay.
Not even close. The first one is a classic. The rest are sequels in my eyes.
Number 6, no surprise that this name would be on there. Darth Vader from Star Wars. Matter of fact, I believe was it Anthony Prose that we recently lost? That was the original. Wasn't he the original Darth Vader? Or am I? I'm like a Lord of the Rings guy. I don't know. You got me. David Prowse, right? Yeah, you need to start watching some more of these series. Yeah. Let's see now. I'm going to stop right there and go back to it. Let's go to the responses in our Facebook group, Barry. Let me pull this up real quick and come up with some of the names that the people in our group have come up with. We certainly appreciate everyone.
And on that note, too, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not in our Facebook group, and you're missing out because it is a fun group. It is a group that protects itself. It's called the Brothership. Between Jeff, myself, and Sweet Lou, we are the 3 best friends you did not know you had. But this is a group that supports itself. We talk about professional wrestling, all things sports. Jeff posts several sports photos per day, movies, TV, music, a lot of food, attractive women, you name it. What are you waiting for? It's the podcast just in a group. Join us. All right. Now let's get to, I put a little something out there for the group. Who is your favorite villain of all time? Just one name. Naturally, of course, Jamie Ward put 2, but I digress. Of course you did.
Let's see. We got John Rogers says Ivan Drago from was that Rocky? Was it 4?
That's 4, right? Yes.
Yeah. Tom Hale mentioning Anton Chigurh. So good for you, Tom, coming up with somebody mentioned. Now, David, is it Slee? I believe that's how you say it. Mentioned one of my favorites, Bolo from Bloodsport, Bolo Young. He was fantastic. He was like a wrestling heel in that movie. Yeah. David Edelman mentioning Lord Humongous. So you get a thumbs up from me for mentioning Lord Humongous. Let's see. Peter Klein mentioning Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastards. John Lee mentioning.
Yeah. You know what makes that good too? There's a guy that would kill you and your entire family and smile at you and talk to you as he did it. And that's Christoph Waltz.
Yes.
Who is he's, again, that fits your criteria, Jeff, of a guy that took a role and just fucking ran with it and did a great job. Christoph Waltz, fantastic.
John Lee mentions Yul Brynner in Westworld. He was a robot. Joshua Drown mentioning Hans Gruber.
Yes. Thumbs up.
Jamie tries to sneak in actually 3 because I was going to say
3.
Emperor Palpatine, but I'll take Thanos. And then he's come back later. Dave Lamont, a friend of the show, ESPN a broadcaster, mentions Auric Goldfinger. Scott Keeler mentions, I'm not going to say who Scott mentioned because we're going to get to it in a second, Scott. Jamie Ward, one bonus, and then I'll stop. Apollo Creed in the original Rocky. What do you think?
No, I don't see it. I'm sorry. Well, you know what? Jamie's from Philly, so of course Apollo Creed is the biggest heel of all time. Other than that, if you're not from Philly, I don't think
you remember the New York Giants or the Dallas Cowboys.
Exactly. You're a Cowboy. Dak Prescott, biggest heel of all time. Sure.
Daniel Balderson mentioned Sho'nuff from Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. So Jesus Salas Rodriguez, who was mentioned 2 episodes ago, mentions a great one that is not on the list that should have been, and that is I can't remember the character's name, but Henry Silva in Above the Law. He was, oh my God. And Henry Silva in Sharky's Machine was fantastic also. Great character.
Am I correct? Henry Silva in Code of Silence?
You are correct. And
fucking Henry Silva, put him on a pedestal. Absolutely one of the great heels of all time. Yes. Could not be anything but a heel. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I will say
Sharky's Machine. Absolutely.
Steve Russum, you mentioned somebody who I'm going to get to in a little bit here as part of the rest of the list. Matt Crowder mentions Robert Mitchum in Night of the Hunter. And you're right. He was absolutely fantastic in that. Toby, how do you say Toby's last name? Is it Scribnick?
Srebnick, I think.
Srebnick. Okay. He mentioned Zod, Travis Raines coming up with a great one. And that is from, oh God, why am I drawing a blank? Bill Murray and good Lord. No. Bill Murray and the Bowling
Mad
Group.
Dog and Glory.
No, Ernie.
Ernie McCracken?
Ernie McCracken, yes.
Yeah.
So I apologize. And he was fantastic in that.
Yeah, but he's a comedian, though.
He was a comedian.
Yeah, but he was really good. Bill Murray's good in everything, though.
Why the fuck can't I remember the name of that movie? What was it?
Kingpin.
Thank you.
Yes.
Travis Raines for throwing me for a loop. But he was very, very good as a villain.
He was.
Yes. So Mark Vines, Michael Corleone. So any intention of watching the new updated Godfather 3, by the way?
No, because I've heard I reached out to a couple of huge Godfather fans, and they said, you're talking about Coda, right?
Yes.
And they said, don't even bother. It's better, but don't even bother with it. So how do you see Michael Corleone? Is it because he killed Fredo? How is he the?
That was just on, and Mrs. Bowdren and I were watching. Mrs. Bowdren saying, I've never seen the Godfather.
Really?
Sometimes I wonder why we're married, quite frankly.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Let's see. We got Rick Nathan with a good selection. Ash from the original Alien.
Yeah. I could see that.
Jay Boutwell, Curly Bill Brosius from Tombstone. I got to be honest with you. I've seen Tombstone. I don't remember. It was Powers Booth, I believe. I don't remember the character so much that I go, oh, hell yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. Yeah. Neither do I.
Ian Totten. Now, if anyone can find a dark character that's a villain, it's our man Ian Totten, because he can find some dark shit sometimes. Mrs. White from the movie Carrie. Piper Laurie.
Yeah. the only thing I would say, she doesn't transcend her, as far as being a villain. But she's a horrific mother and a horrific person. Yes. I would agree with that. But yeah, that's a good villain though. Sure, I can see that.
Jason Diaz, not specifying which actor, because there were a couple of actors that played this role, but the character of Stavro Blofeld from the James Bond series, Telly Savalas, Donald Pleasance, a bunch of different guys played Blofeld, but it was a great character. It was completely mocked to amazing effect by Mike Myers in the Austin Powers series as Dr. Evil. That was essentially Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, that's a good one.
Hannibal Lecter, Brian Huff mentions Hannibal Lecter. Mark Fuentes with a good choice. Thumbs up, Mark, for mentioning Scorpio from Dirty Harry. What was the Andrew
Robinson.
Andrew Robinson, fantastic.
Yep.
Brian Westcott mentioning Darth Vader. Let's see, Steve Z, or I mispronounced your last name, apologize. He mentions a character that I'm going to get to in just a second there, Steve. Jeff Collette mentions Doyle Hargrave, and you know what? I looked up that name, and now I can't remember. Wait a minute, let me real quick reference Doyle Hargraves.
Doyle Hargraves used to announce for UW, didn't he?
WCW, I think that's what it was.
Okay, right. Yeah, I remember that guy. He was good.
Wait a minute. Let me just Doyle Hargraves.
That Mark Madden guy.
Doyle Hargraves was the character played by Dwight Yoakam in Sling Blade.
That's right. He was a fucking asshole is what he was.
Yes. And so we give credit where it's due. Thank you very much for mentioning that. Jeff, James Young coming up with Gene Hackman as Little Bill from Unforgiven. I mean, and this is what James says, he whipped Morgan Freeman. You just can't do that. And that's a valid point, James. So, and Alan Hype saying that was going to be mine. Well, Alan, James got it before you. Let's see. Nev Campbell. I don't remember the character's name in Wild Things. Mike Phillips, the shark from Jaws.
Bruce. I see it, but I don't see it. But yeah,
Roy, now here's one you're going to like. Roy Bochik, the Jesus from The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I don't see him as a full out heel. Because if you've watched, did you watch the? And it's not a sequel. Let's not even go there. But the Jesus Rolls. Did you ever see it?
No, I have not seen it yet.
So let me tell you, no, I did not like it at all. What it does do is it shows you another side of him, and also shows you the circumstances of the young child and what happened. It's not what you think. He never molested a child or anything. So if they were doing it, they had to make him babyface, and this is they show you exactly what happened. The movie's terrible, but I don't see him as being a heel either.
Yeah. So let's see where we are next on the list. We got let's see, Grant Ellis saying The Wicked Witch of the West. Charles Meadow, Liberty Valance. I believe it was Jack Palance, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. He was
Jeremy Marshall mentioning Mr. Kreese from The Karate Kid. We mentioned that in the very part of the show. Christian Bodie mentioning the guy from The Last Dragon, show enough. Now here's going. Jason James. This is a good one that probably should have been on the list without question. Colonel Nathan Jessup from A Few Good Men.
Yeah, and that's it. It's a unique choice. Choice.
Yeah, again, here's another one, a character. We never actually see the character. So I don't know. Mark Wiggins mentions the truck driver from Duel. Is the truck driver the heel, or is it the truck itself that's the heel?
Yeah. If it's the truck, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing right.
Yeah.
No computers, dolls, or trucks. So, yeah.
Okay. So Sam Nord mentions one. Barry, did you ever see the movie that came out, I want to say a year or so ago, Get Out? Did you ever see that?
Absolutely did, yes.
He mentions the character of Rose. He says one of the best heel turns ever.
Yeah. So, yeah, and Rose's parents, I think, also fall into it. I don't know if I would call them the best movie villains of all time, but I got to tell you, the three actors, actually the four, though the brother was always kind of, but Rose does do, because you've got this very attractive girl, and all the guys are like, yeah, I'd get with Rose. And then all of a sudden she does this fucking heel turn that kind of comes out of nowhere. You've never seen Get Out?
No, not yet. No.
You should. I'm sure it's on one of the.
Oh, sure. Mr. I haven't seen The Lord of the Rings or Star Wars.
Right.
Giving me
it's on my list tonight, Jeff. Okay. You hang up. That's it.
Christopher Perrault mentioning Zod. We've talked about that. Farlow's Deli, Porky. We talked about Porky. Was Porky a great heel?
Porky was a great heel, but he's not one of the great quote-unquote heels of all time. But yes, he was a fun heel.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that. Yes.
Let's see. Ryan Wade mentioning Jack Palance in the movie Shane. He was fantastic in that. Adam Dumow mentioning Hans Gruber. Rob McCade mentioning Hans Gruber. Let's see. Stansfield from the movie The Professional. That was played by who?
Gary Oldman. It wasn't.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you're right. That was trying.
Yeah, that's a great heel. But with a lot of that criteria, why don't we say Scar from The Lion King, played by Jeremy Irons? Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Great vocal work. There's no question about that. Yeah. Aaron Maxon mentioning Biff Tannen. Jeff Lewis, Rollo Tomasi from LA Confidential. Barry, here's one you're going to like. Jeremiah Scott mentioning Billy Mitchell.
Oh, yeah, Billy Mitchell, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So Pancha Ortega mentioning Benny Blanco from the Bronx from Carlitos Way. Let's see. Kiefer Sutherland from what's the Stephen King with the kids walking the railroad tracks? Good Lord, why can't I think of it?
Stand By Me.
Stand By Me. Keanu Reeves with the bleach blonde hair as the bully that wants to cut them. Yeah, that's it. Oh, and let me just say, Phil Thompson says the bitch from Last American Virgin. Still pissed at her. Yes.
I am with Phil Thompson.
Yes,
he's 100% right.
You get a shout out
Phil.
for that. I so agree with that. I may change this this may become the Phil Thompson episode. That's how much I feel on that.
I like it.
Let's see. Albert Gans in 48 Hours.
That's Remar. Yeah.
Farlow's came up with two answers, but it was funny. He mentioned Dr. Evil when he turns on Mini-Me. That was pretty funny. Let's see. We've got a couple of people mentioned Biff Tannen. Let's see. Amal Pitts with an interesting choice from Titanic. What's your name? Rose for leaving the guy as she's on the raft and letting him drown. You didn't.
Yeah, I guess. Interpretation is getting a little twisted now, but sure.
Okay. Well, we're getting further down the list. What can I say?
Exactly.
Naturally, Zaha mentions Thanos. There's a huge. Ken Zalawaski, you mentioned this. Scooter McGavin. You mentioned him, I believe, last week's episode. Shooter McGavin. I said Scooter. You said
no, but I called him Scooter too last week or the week before, whatever that's been, right?
So maybe Ken's already listened to last week's episode, Barry.
There you go,
if you will, in public. So let's get back to the list and let's get to the final choices by this particular column. We left off with number 5, Colonel Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastards. Barry, you talked about that. Number 4, Kaiser Soze from Usual Suspects. Was it Kaiser Soze or Verbal Kint?
Yeah, that's a good choice right there. Usual Suspects too was such a great movie. Unfortunately, I think I've only watched it twice because with the great reveal, I felt that the movie was put around this great reveal, and then when the reveal is made, you go back and watch the movie to say, wait, could I picked up on these hints? But it doesn't play well for multiple viewings. But he was a very, very good heel. I would agree with that.
I have to say, one of the things that's so unfortunate about Kevin Spacey being such a douchebag and what he did in his private life off screen is we've lost Kevin Spacey, the actor, who was so fun as an actor, so that's really disappointing. Number 3, De Niro as Max Cady in Cape Fear. Come on, wherever you are.
He was great. It looked there. He's had some fantastic roles, but I don't know if he's ever taken a character over and lived and breathed and brought a character to life the way that he did Max Cady. So yeah, I'd agree with that.
When he sticks the finger in the girl's mouth, and that's just Juliette Lewis. So fucking creepy. Let's see. One I know that's one of your favorites. I know because I think you've talked about this before. Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, she's great. Evil. I want my cigarettes.
Yeah, evil character, no question about that.
Evil character, Louise Fletcher. Yep, great job though.
From Blue Velvet, the character of Frank Booth.
Well, there you go. Drop the mic, Jeff. There it is. That he may just be one of the great villains or the greatest villain of all time in any film. He was so reprehensible. That one scene with Isabella Rossellini, where she runs out of the house, where everything takes place, and she runs out of the house naked, and Kyle MacLachlan is there. You just sit there and go, holy fucking shit. And I remember seeing this movie, and you got to give David Lynch a lot of credit.
Yes.
Who makes a movie like that in 1986? Like, where now it's yes, you could,
when he's huffing the nitrous, and and then what is the line?
Dean Stockwell, remember Dean Stockwell?
Yes, yeah,
Blue Velvet, and the weirdest fucking movie ever.
Yeah. Okay. Now, as I said, this at some point, this article, which I'll post just so you can see how fucked up the numbering system is in this article. They messed it up. Frank Booth was not their last choice. They mentioned, and he's fantastic in that. There's no question. And maybe they intended for Frank Booth to be number one. I don't know. But they mentioned Robert Patrick as the T-1000 in Terminator 2.
Yeah, he was. I love the character. I just don't know if it's one of the great villains of all time. But but I love the character.
And now here's somebody that was mentioned more than once on our Facebook group. I said I was going to get to it eventually. That's Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight. He was fantastic. He made that character himself so much a part of himself. I think literally that it fucked with his own psyche.
Yeah, I'd agree with that also, and I think he was maybe the best Joker. Here's the thing, like the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker was so different than every other version that yes, they're the Joker, but really those characters were completely different when you stop and think about it. But Heath Ledger did an incredible job. What a shame. Did an incredible job.
Yeah. It affected his psyche so much that we ended up losing him. And he was a fantastic actor. He was in a number of really good roles. Okay, so now the last one they mentioned. So I'm not sure if they meant for this to be their number one or not, but this is the last one that's mentioned in the article. So I'm assuming this was their choice for number one. And amazingly, on our Facebook page, no one has fucking mentioned this performance. And we just talked about the actor. And think about the fact that this actor, basically he's like got 2 in the top 10. Fucking Kevin Spacey as John Doe in 7. Don't look inside the box, whatever you do.
Yeah, he was great in that movie. And 7's one of those movies too that I saw in the theater, and I don't think I was impressed. And it could have been me. And then I watched it on cable a year ago, and I was like, this is actually a pretty good movie. And Kevin Spacey does do a really, really good job. So yeah, I'd agree with that.
And it's amazing because Kevin Spacey doesn't come into the picture, 3/4 of the way into the movie?
Yeah. Do you ever see that movie with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder?
Which one?
The one where Kevin Spacey plays the bad guy. It was one of those ones like in '89, around that time period when he and
See No Evil.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Blind and deaf, but Kevin Spacey plays the bad guy. Yes.
Okay, I got you. No, I you know what? I loved him in Stir Crazy and was it Silver Streak, but I never saw that one. He just, for a guy to come on the screen 3/4 of the way in the movie and just, you got Morgan fucking Freeman, Brad Pitt. There were so many good people in that movie, and he just took over the fucking movie, because it was basically someone they had talked about the whole movie, and then he comes into the movie and just completely takes it over. And you never find out what his name is because he's John Doe, just absolutely amazing. So yeah, this was a fun list to do, fun stuff to talk about, lots of great performances. There were some that were left out. I think that's fair to say. We've gone over them, whether it's the comments from our folks on our Facebook group or ones that I might have mentioned. Barry, right off the top of your head, can you think of anyone that they missed?
Yeah, they missed Raven from Streets of Fire, which was, I believe, Willem Dafoe's first. And I thought somehow that's where he was going to wind up on this list. But he was, again, this was a unique villain. He was kind of an asshole. Willem Dafoe, too, I think what makes a great villain sometimes is the physical appearance. And Willem Dafoe has just always had this really unusual look about him.
Yeah.
So I liked Raven a lot. I do like the fight scene at the end. I will break kayfabe, Jeff. I have reached out to Michael Paré to try to get him to be a guest on the show, which would be a dream for me.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So far, no confirmation either way, which, hey, I'm okay with.
Well, we did have someone else of an actor that we reached out to, a great character actor that turned us down.
Which we can talk about.
And apparently did not have a great sense of humor, according to you.
Had no sense of humor. Mark Metcalf, who played, he was the maestro on Seinfeld. He was Niedermeyer in Animal House, and he was Twisted
Sister. Is that a pledge pin?
Yeah, the Twisted Sister videos, and I reached out to him, and no, not really a comedic type of personality, so he will not be joining us.
He really was more like the maestro.
I think he really was like the maestro, yes.
So, Barry, it's hard to believe. I did find it fascinating that I had posted a thread on our Facebook group, Breaking Kayfabe with Bowdren and Barry, where I said, who are your favorite movie villains of all time, or which one do you think was the best? And we had some people that actually mentioned some stuff that, where we had, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that guy. That's a good choice. But the amazing thing is, to this day, and it's been like 10 days, nobody has come up with a guy that ended up being number one. That's just fucking amazing to me.
Yeah, it really was amazing too. And I really like what you said about, do you believe when a villain speaks that it's legit? And I'm paraphrasing with that, because when we did this, we recorded this a week ago or so. There were some names on there that I think were more comedic, or they were animated or something like that. And I don't know if that truly belongs, but I think what you just said is the definition of a true heel. So I do like that.
Yeah. And, one of the things I will reveal now, that I hope in our next episode, we will be going back to a movie of the week, because I have put it out there to 3 people that are going to be sending us reviews, and we will be discussing next week. Barry, talk about your all-time great villains. And this was a guy that was mentioned on the list, No Country for Old Men, the character of Anton Chigurh. And I watched this the other day. Holy shit, is that a great heel performance by Javier Bardem?
Oh, yeah. I think there's one of the great villains of all time. Absolutely.
And it's almost like he was so invested in that character. And he was great in Skyfall too, Javier Bardem, as the MI6 agent. I can't remember the character's name, that kind of went rogue on the agency, and like had all the problems where his face, the acid had melted away part of his face, and just a guy that does a great job. I mean, there's some people that just do a better job at playing a heel in a movie, some actors, than playing a good guy. And Javier, I'm going to butcher his name, Javier Bardem did a great job in Skyfall. He also did a great job in No Country for Old Men. So we're going to be talking about that movie next week, which is, holy shit, just a rip snorter and a great, great film. So, Barry, before we go, I'm going to include one little segment on wrestling. And that is a question that came up in a meme that was posted by a friend of the show, Mark Small. And it was via a meme that MJF had put up on his Twitter page, I think. And that is Cody in the AEW equal to what Jeff Jarrett was in TNA? Now, I'm going to ask you, because I got to be honest with you, I really was not a big fan of TNA, so I didn't watch a lot of it, but I know you were more into it. So do you think that is a valid comparison? And whether or not MJF was doing it as a goof, I don't know. But I thought it made for an interesting question. Do you think it's a valid question?
It's a valid question. It's a valid statement. Absolutely. Because it's and I should say, too, I like Cody more than I like Jeff Jarrett. I also feel Jeff Jarrett, if you had kept him in the middle of the card, it would have been absolutely fine. I think what happens when these guys get a sense of power, as we've seen in professional wrestling for the last 75 years, Jeff, which with Dusty Rhodes, and but though Dusty was a major league talent at one point, but when a guy is in a position of power, he pushes himself, and it's a mistake. And I think the smart booker, at least in my opinion, the smart booker is the one that knows what his positioning in the card is, that, there's no reason I have to put myself on top for my own ego when I can make a lot more money by pushing somebody who's more over with the crowd. You know, that to me, that's being a true mark for yourself, in the sense that you'd rather put yourself on top to feed your ego than to make more fucking money. I can't figure that out. So with Cody, I think Cody's fine, but Cody's not shouldn't be the face of the company. Cody's not the guy on top, shouldn't be the face of the, so I think that comparison actually is valid, though I still prefer Cody over Jeff Jarrett.
Well, let me just say this. Of course, in fairness to guys like Dusty Rhodes, the old Booker philosophy was, I'm going to put myself over because I'm somebody that I can trust. I'm not somebody that's going to walk out on the promotion with a belt or something like that, And so that's why you had so many bookers that had their own little clique of guys that they took with them to every different promotion they went to. Dusty was certainly one of them, but he was not the only one at all. Guys made a habit of showing up in different territories and, oh, gee, that guy's with him again, because, they knew the guy, they had a certain amount of trust with the guy. So, that very well may have been what Dusty was doing. Now, as far as, Cody and Jeff Jarrett, let me just say this. I've talked about Cody before and the position that he's in and the issues that I have with it. I have to suspect that eventually there's going to be a turn, okay? And Cody's going to turn. I wonder whether or not our issues with Cody being such a focal part of the company, whether it's the face of the company or one of the top 2 or 3 people in the company, whether it's going to be as noticeable to us if he turns and is as effective as a heel as we think he's going to be. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's the smart booking right there, because I think when Cody does turn into a heel, he's going to be much more effective than he is as a kind of middling babyface. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fair. So anyway, all right, my friend, you about ready for the go home?
I think this is it.
So, all right. On behalf of our sweet producer, the sweet man, Lou Kipilman, and my co-host, Barry Rose, I am Jeff Bowdren. I'd like to remind you, Breaking Kayfabe with Bowdren Barry is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. And until next week, when we're going to talk we're going to get back to wrestling because we have a match already picked out, but we're also going to be talking No Country for Old Men.